Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪. Today I have a brand new guest, Dr. Anurag Mairal. And I don't know how many of you are on Twitter, but if you have been on Twitter, you would have been seeing a fair amount of tweeting that Dr. Mairal has been doing. And this concerns the recent spurt of attack slash slurs that have been said by some unruly elements who say that they are representing Khalistan, they are Khalistani supporters, and we have been now also involving some of the Indian American politicians with that. So I'm just going to first invite Dr. Mairal, and then I will set the stage so that we can have a conversation about what is happening and the way forward. Dr. Mairal, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar. Thank you so much for having me on the show, 𝙤𝙧𝙤𝙪.
Anurag ji, let me just set the timeline so that people can understand. I'm just going to stay to just one consulate, and that is the Consulate of India at San Francisco. It's in a small place. It's on a small boulevard, Arguella Boulevard 540. And this is a small building. It doesn't really have a facade. There are no places where you can have security standing and things like that. It's straight on the street. So on Sunday, apparently at 4 a.m., two people with disguise, or people couldn't make out their faces, but two people tried to set fire to the consulate building, 4 a.m. And this is all captured on CCTV. And then during the day that day, there were demonstrations. Now, what happened was that two Khalistani flags were tied to the entrance and they were flying. So a few employees of the Indian consulate came out. They untied these flags, and one of the guys who was protesting came out and picked up the flag. And we thought that it was going to be okay. But in a spurt, 3 or 4 people came and attacked the consulate building. There is one door to the side and there is a front door. Now, the 3 barely managed to escape through the side door when one of them had like a spear, like a wood flag holder. He tried to literally spear them. And they didn't stop there. They smashed up all the windows in the front. This happened on Sunday, the 19th. Now, after that, on Wednesday, they were back again protesting. However, between these 2 times, the Indian consulate has sent the evidence to Department of State, which made some, they were expressing some concern about this, and they said that we are going to address this thing through the police. Now, San Francisco Police Department had a slightly higher presence on Wednesday, and nothing untoward happened. Then on Friday, the Indian Americans showed up there in support of the Indian consulate. That day again, there were a few people, and there were some skirmishes that day also. Skirmishes meaning verbal, but the things that were said was just too much. And then again on Saturday, 100 plus people came up and they were shouting slogans. So this is all that has happened so far in the Indian consulate building. Now, while this was going on, Anurag ji has been tweeting. And one of the things that I think he did was to reach out to his congressman, which happens to be Ro Khanna or Ro Khanna. So Anurag ji, take it from there and kind of walk us through what has happened, because a lot has happened in the last few hours. So I just want you to kind of walk us through and how you see the way ahead.
Thank you, 𝙤𝙧𝙤𝙪, for bringing this really important issue to notice of your viewers through this show. If you don't mind, I'll just take a minute to talk about the context.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have lived in the Bay Area for almost 25 years now. And this is my home. I work here. I have a huge community of friends and colleagues here. I've been involved with a number of community activities here, and it's a place that I consider as much home as the place that I was born in. In fact, more so, because I spend more time here. So clearly, when somebody creates a bit of terror in your neighborhood, in your where you live, a place that you normally often go to for let's say for your visa or for other sorts of activities, community activities, that fear for you, not just for your own well-being, but for your family, for your community, for your friends' well-being, actually permeates through the community. It becomes a terror of the heart for a lot of people, it gets shared across the community. So it was in that context that we all were watching helplessly these events unfold through social media, through these videos, and a pretty violent. I mean, if you look at you're very very understated in the way you describe these events. These events look very violent, actually, when you look at them. There is a sword involved in one of them. So we were worried not only for the safety of the well-being of the consulate personnel, but we were worried about what does it mean for the rest of the community. And when we started to hear that, city officials may not be doing as much as they could, and we started hearing that, the presence had not really been adequate, all of those criticisms, it actually became pretty important for us to start to speak up about it. And I started tweeting about it, as you said, about it, and I started calling out. Despite the risk that we all felt, I thought somebody had to speak up, and I did. I started calling various stakeholders out, Mayor London Breed, the Chief Scott of the SFPD, and my congressman. Number of officials actually did tweet nationally and regionally about this and criticized it, and they said, we'll do all we can. I mean, there was Jake Sullivan actually tweeted about it, who's the national security advisor. But I didn't see a strong comment coming from Ro Khanna, who's an Indian American, Hindu American congressman. I felt he would actually understand the fear that the community felt because a lot of his constituents are of Indian origin background. But he didn't. He did respond to one of the posts by, I think, NSA Sullivan, but I didn't see him write very much else, and that concerned me. So I actually tweeted at him, and I asked two questions to him. I said, the two questions were, one, do you support the violent Khalistani movement? And then second question was, do you support their separatist agenda? Because that agenda will break India, a partner country for United States, my home country here. It actually creates a major challenge for a partner country, which is going to be a defining strategic partnership for us here in the US for the next several decades. So I wanted clarity from my congressman on where he stood. And I said, I'm going to ask that question every week until I get the answer. And it was, it's very unusual for me to do this. I've been active in Twitter only for last year or so. So for me, I didn't know what the norms are and how you frame these things. But I was concerned enough that I wanted that answer. And to his credit, he responded. By the time I woke up, I saw lots of messages coming through my timeline. But at the top of that was Ro Khanna's response, unequivocally saying that he does not support Khalistan. He does not support separatist agenda of theirs. He does not want to see India being broken up. And he criticizes their action. So I was very happy to see that. He did say some other things in there about how he wants social justice and things like that in India, which is the right thing to say, I suppose. But I think it was a way of him acknowledging those of his constituents who feel that India may not be going in the right direction. As an American congressman, he has it's his prerogative to respond to make those comments. But I felt he needed to be very clear about rejecting these elements, and he was. So really, really happy to see that. I think a number of us in the community are thrilled to see it. My hope he sustains that criticism. The other thing that I did comment on my response to him, I thanked him, and I said, you have to be very careful about which sources do you use to comment on these issues that affect Indian Americans, because there's a lot of coverage going on in the mainstream media today that is informed more by superficial information gathering that doesn't even do a deep enough analysis or deep enough research. Simple research would give them facts, and they don't necessarily follow that. And sometimes these articles are being written by activists themselves. So I just felt that in his role, which is such an important role, he's such a trailblazer for our community that he needed to be a little more thoughtful about that. And his response shows that he cares.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Anurag, we also saw the unfortunate accident yesterday, or incident, I should say, Gurudwara in Sacramento, where it looks like two groups had a fight. One person looks like or two are critically injured. One has been taken into custody. Now, see, what happens is, today, social media, whether you like it or not, we have to agree on this, that these things become silos, and they become like an echo chamber where somebody's opinion keeps reflected and reflected. At some point of time, this kind of explodes. I'm still waiting for the Sikh community, the majority of whom are hardworking people, very smart, very, very hardworking. Why are they still silent? What do you think needs to happen? I mean, the Indian Americans don't consider, or Hindu Americans don't consider Sikhs as being different. But I don't hear that from the other side. I'm sorry to say this thing.
Yeah.
So where do you see, how do we move forward here?
Yeah, so I have a number of friends who are Sikh Americans. Most of them are from India, but they're Americans like me. And they all, all of them, actually, I don't know of any one of them that actually supports Khalistan ideology. All of them reject it, but they are scared. They're scared. The elements that we are talking about here are violent. You saw those videos, what happened at the consulate. They did this in broad daylight. They have done this to their own people, other moderate Sikhs in their Gurudwaras. And I'm not going to name the Gurudwaras because that's probably not appropriate to do so. But you can actually do Google on those and you can figure out where these acts happen. So there's quite a bit of violence and quite a bit of threat of violence that exists, and especially amongst the moderate Sikhs that reject this ideology. And Sikhs are very peace-loving people, and they don't want to get caught in it. I wouldn't call it cowardice. It's a real fear. I'm afraid for my own safety as well. This is why I've taken safety measures. I've done things to make sure that I remain safe, my family remains safe, but it's a real risk. So I think that's a big part of it, Shriji, and I think we need to acknowledge that. But I think this is where American security establishment, both at the federal government level, FBI and others, as well as local policing, needs to be very proactive and provide that security cover, not take this as just another security threat. This is real. This is very serious.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, go ahead, sir. Yeah, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Yeah, just one last thing I'll say is that the other thing I want to say is that, honestly, this is very destructive. The entire approach, even if Khalistanis want their own homeland, there are ways you can do this in a very peaceful way. You can demand this in a very peaceful way. No need to resort to violence. And I think we can work together for well-being of everybody. This world is ours. With this, this country is ours. And to the extent that we can at least have a dialogue, at least have exchange words rather than, see violence happen, that would be better.
Thank you so much, Anurag. And viewers, we're going to keep talking about this because more things are happening. And there is a fair amount of, pent-up emotion. And that needs to, be looked at, and we have to see how this thing is going to play out. This is not the last. However, anybody has a right to protest. It has to be done within the bounds of the law. I mean, nobody has any problem if you come and say that I want this and I'm fighting for this. But it's when you try to do it with the intent of hurting someone or killing someone or setting or performing arson, that kind of is not right. So let's wait and see how this plays out. And thank you so much for taking time out from your busy schedule to talk to us. And viewers, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much, Dr. Anurag. And we'll be back again, and we are going to have more people weighing in on this. And thank you so much once again, sir.